Welcome to the bench with Jenna and John, and I'd just like to start this week by apologising because our very special guest, don't go to him just yet, Smithy, but our very special guest has achieved that much. I haven't been able to memorise it. I'm going to have to read this out.
It's sickening.
Dream Team, 11 times. Man of Steel, 2003. 550 career appearances. Won the treble twice in 2003 with Bradford and in 2015 with the Leeds Rhinos. 11 Super League Grand Finals. Won 9 of them. Captained England and captained Great Britain. Won the Challenge Cup 4 times. Played in 7 of them. Jamie Peacock, welcome to the bench with Jenna and John. I mean, have you ever thought about what your life would look like if you didn't have rugby league?
Yeah, it'd be, I think, a lot more boring. You know, you missed to start off there. How many of those grand finals did we play in and win that you played in and lost?
I think it was just 5 on the bounce.
5 in a row.
Yeah, can we just point something out? Only one Man of Steel. Pathetic.
Yeah, I know.
Pathetic.
Yeah, but back then, that was voted by players, wasn't it? So perhaps a little bit of jealousy may have been.
Maybe. I think, well, yeah. I don't know.
We'll put it down to that anyway.
Put it down to that.
It's some, well, just on that, that's some career, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you listen to those numbers, it's mental.
Yeah, I mean, I think the key thing is, look, played in 2 good sides. You know what it's like as a player. You can be good on your own, but there's a lot of good players don't win anything, and I think 2 good sides, the Bradford Bulls, left there at the right time, got to the Leeds team, played in a good Leeds side, so that always makes it easier. When you're surrounded by good players, everything's easier.
It is easier, but that's not, like, even with good players, that's, you know, that's
incredible.
Insane.
Of all those achievements, Jamie Peacock, which is your favourite?
I would probably say winning the treble in 2015, because I think to bow out at Leeds like that, and it was a difficult treble to win. You know, the Challenge Cup was easy enough to win, but then they finishing top of the league. We did it in the last seconds, didn't we? When they had to bring the helicopter back from Wigan.
Ryan Hall
in the corner, yeah.
Who was in the helicopter, by the way?
Yeah,
Who was in there?
Rodri.
Was it Blake Solly?
Nigel Wood. It was Nigel Wood.
I just love them turning it round.
No wonder it didn't moving slowly, but
it was on the M62 in a minibus, wasn't it?
No, don't you remember it? Came even landed,
no,
didn't it?
that was just a helicopter passing. They were like, "There's Blake Solly waving." Look at them. No, it's not. It's not.
So 2015.
And then the grand final right at the end, you know, to win that, come from behind to beat Wigan. And we were like running on fumes as a team. 5 or 6 of our main players were not in that game. So just to finish that off, I just felt really lucky to kind of do that. Really special moment.
Some way to finish.
Yeah, it's, you know, yeah. But then, you know, sport's pretty brutal, because I came out of retirement and my last ever action on a rugby league field was watching a drop goal sail over as he got relegated with OKR. So I just put a bit.
Did you notice I did leave that section out?
Yeah,
didn't I?
As a cautionary tale for anybody, and this goes for people we work with, and Jamie. Do not come out of retirement.
Yeah.
Sam pulled his hammy 2 weeks in. Your last moment in rugby league was turning round and watching a drop goal go over from 50 yards.
I thought he's never going to kick that. It's 55 metres out.
Well, you should have kicked pressure.
I thought I don't need it. He's never going to
I don't need to kick pressure. There's no way Gaz O'Brien's got. Oh, he's kicked it.
Yeah.
What is your, like, you obviously played against each other for many years, played with each other as well. So first of all, John Wilkin, what's your kind of favourite standout memory of JP?
Well, gosh, I mean, JP was such a competitor, and I'd like people respected him. You know, I respected him, but I think my standout memory was I was young at St Helens. The day the betting scandal happened. So Martin Gleeson, Sean Long obviously got banned for betting on a game. I actually got sent off 6 minutes into that game for a high tackle on Paul Deacon.
So can you imagine how much money you had on that game for getting sent off?
No, I didn't have a bet.
Yeah.
I was young. I was very excited to be playing in that game, Jamie. Got sent off after 6 minutes. High tackle Paul Deacon, really bad tackle. Like, it was awful. He was laid out. He was concussed. And I remember looking down out of concern at Paul Deacon, and I just looked up. And JP at the time, he's got the hair, but it's bleached blonde, frosted tips on it. He's massive, and he's like charging towards me. It's a bit like on Happy Gilmore, you know, that the guy who's like heckling him. They saw you like bounding towards me, blood coming out your mouth. And as I recall it, you chased me, and I ran away.
Do you recall this?
That's
I remember being really angry. I thought, who's this?
Really angry.
Really Paul Deacon. So I was just going over to see how John was.
Well, I think I ran around the post.
Did you catch him?
No.
I didn't
Oh,
catch
we
it.
No, I used my only skill at the time, which was just I was a bit more elusive back then. So I just
Nimble.
what I did first 10 yards, just put enough gap between us that the referee would get involved. That's. But yeah, I had loads of memories of JP. A lot of heartbreak, a lot of great times. Like we went on some amazing tours, probably 2006 in Australia. It was like sort of standout. But somebody I looked up to, and you know, like you speak about his achievements, and like all of that for me is pretty cool. Like. When I think of Jamie, like that's the least impressive thing about him, you know, sort of. You know those numbers. Those numbers are just for me. That's just
Numbers.
Yeah, the man he is, and the respect that he had off people and still has is what I find impressive. Not the numbers, you know.
Do you know what I'm fascinated by, JP? And that's your motivational speaking. So you've obviously gone on this journey now, and you're a motivational speaker. First of all, what's your favourite quote? Do you have a favourite quote that you live by?
There's a couple I really like. There's one which I think is really important. That there's very little traffic on the extra mile, which means about going above and beyond. It's pretty simple.
It's not about the M62,
yeah,
is it? There's loads of traffic on there.
Definitely not about that one. No. And I think one fun for myself that I like, and we might come back to this in a bit, is just do hard things and be positive. I reckon if you do those two things in life, you've got a good chance of being successful at anything you kind of do.
You love your quotes, Jenna Brooks.
I
What's
have
yours?
a quote book.
You've got to come up with something now.
No, I've got loads. I'm just trying to think which. Probably my favourite and the one that I try to live by time and time again is the harder you work, the luckier you get.
Yeah. It's about being prolific in your actions, and therefore.
Thank you for translating.
Yeah, no, I know. Oh, right, sorry. Yeah, I was just.
So basically,
no, I was
children at home, in case you don't understand, the harder you work,
if you
the
get your
luckier
crayons
you
out.
get. So hard work and you succeed.
Yeah, excellent.
What's yours, John?
Most people look up and admire the stars. Champions climb the mountain and grab one. I had that on my bedroom wall when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's good, that.
Yeah, I had two. I had that. I had If by Rudyard Kipling, which is very long and hard to recite, but the message is basically graft, don't be a everything's cool. Yeah. I'm just translating again another quote, or that one. But they were both on my wall, so I was sort of into it. I think words are powerful.
Yeah, they are. I think I think it's really good to have quotes at certain times, and you can refer to them and go, do you know that I can relate to that? It's going to make a difference to me. It's like a life lesson in 3 seconds, isn't it?
Yeah,
Go, I can do something about that.
Yeah.
So what does it involve being a motivational speaker? And I suppose with that, there's challenges in itself. Like what's kind of when you get given a job or when you know you've got to go speak, I mean, what's the clientele like? Is it young children? Is it adults? Is it sports? Like what?
Yeah, it's a wide mix, really. I can go into schools and speak, or be in local businesses, or like big blue chip businesses, people who are worldwide companies like for Siemens, for example, businesses like that. And for me, I want to get a context of what the business is after so I can shape it into what they want. And then it's about getting that context right and listening to what they want to get out of that talk, and then shaping what I do around that. And then I think when you get in there, it's about judging your audience. How are you going to pitch it, where you're going to get to. And I'll be honest with you, there's nothing more I like than going into a room and I can see the look on people's faces thinking, who's this guy? I don't know rugby league. And being able to change them around over a 45-minute period.
What does that look like? What is it? Is it confused? What is it? Or is it dismissive?
It's arms folded.
Is it back in the chair?
Looking at who the F is this guy?
Some guy like that in HR going, here we go again.
Yeah.
So how do you? So then, JP, how do you get them to come around? What's your message? Obviously, we don't have 45 minutes. Unfortunately, we've only got half an hour. But what does that look like?
I think I'm pretty authentic. Authentic about what I talk about, and I'm pretty honest with how I speak. And I think that connects with people. And what I try to do is show that anybody can be really successful in your role if you just follow a number of different things. It's not about talent. Like we spoke about already, it's interesting, the 3 quotes we all talk about are about hard work, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
And they're all different ways. So hard work's a choice. And I think it's just about getting that over. And I think people like that, I don't come across as arrogant. I come across as humble, just honest, and to the point with what I'm talking about. And I think that generally engages in people along the way. One thing I know as well is that you're not going to make everybody happy, right? You just got to understand that you're doing that. But if you can get the vast majority of them, then that's a success, I think.
And does it feel amazing? Can you see them change?
Yeah,
you know,
I
you can see people
change.
buy into
yeah.
what you're
Of course, you
saying.
can see a room change and body language change. People get still. People get on the front of the seats, and people begin to concentrate on what you're talking about. And they've gone from being a bit, "What is this?" to actually, "I'm really enjoying this. I like this." So you can see that, and you just get a feel for doing that.
Yeah, I think, like you said, all the quotes that we mentioned there are hard work. You know, there's one thing you said in one of your quotes there about positivity.
Yeah.
Like, so the combination of hard work, make hard choices, and be positive. How much of a problem is negativity in the environments that you go into, or even in environments that you've been in?
Yeah, I think negativity is always a problem, isn't it, in places you go. I think the key in any team or business is that you're never going to get 100% of the people positive. You just need a critical mass of people in that organisation or team who believe in the cause and are positive around it, and then they bring the rest along with them.
Yeah.
And they might not ever be super positive, but they might not be negative along the way with it. You're never going to win them all over.
Yeah.
You've got to understand that.
This is where I use this phrase all the time, and people who know me think it's mine, it's not, it's yours, and I stole it off you, and I never credit you for it
Well,
either.
so when? At what point did you steal?
I say this all the time. Having a coalition of the willing.
Yeah.
A coalition of people who are willing, you know, these positive brand advocates, these people who engage and enthuse everybody else. And that's like, you know, the core of whatever you do, isn't it?
Yeah.
The coalition of willing people. But I'll say that to people I know, and they're like, oh, yeah, that. And I'm like, I always mean to quote you.
Just forget.
No, I always mean to
Conveniently
quote
forget.
him, but I was like, you know, JP,
My idea.
no, but he's got that many accolades. He doesn't need this
Yeah,
one.
no.
Okay.
But you're right. With that, it is getting people on board with it. So if you think all good coaches, all great coaches need 5 or 6 players to drive that in the dressing room, you can be the best coach in the world, but you won't win things unless you've got a coalition of the willing in your players. And there's been a lot of studies on that showing there's I can't remember the name of the book, but they studied like 30 different sports teams across all different sports, and what made them have dynasties in there. And the number one thing was having like a coalition of the willing, about 5 or 6 players in the team that helped drive whatever the head coach was saying.
Yeah.
You need that within
So
it.
who were yours?
Well, we're lucky to have a lot at the Rhinos. If you think
The golden generation.
yeah,
John.
yeah.
Do you remember?
Can you bleep out this? Can you bleep that? Can we blur it? That would be good.
Just as well for everybody. My neck is getting sore, and I'm thinking, why is my neck sore? It's because, JP, how tall are you?
I think 6'4".
What do you mean you think?
So,
No, my kids
John-
are
What do you mean you
my
think
kids-
6'4"?
because my kids are going, you're about 6'2", Dad. I'm like, no, I'm
Right.
6'4".
Yeah, you're
That's
such
just
a
what I
British
mean.
So
thing, is
you're
it?
on the same step as me. John, just for people that aren't watching, he's kind of creeped
Prove
up.
it.
He's 2
Prove
steps
it.
above, and he's...
Oh, well
and
done, Nick.
He's
come
well
back
and
down.
truly. So
I'll come back down.
Oh, I'll go up. Anyway, let's just
Well, we're
circle
all
back,
equal.
JP, to the leaders that you
Yeah.
played alongside. You said that there was many of them. It was the golden generation: Kevin Sinfield, Rob Burrow, Jamie Jones-Buchanan.
Yeah.
I mean, the list goes on.
Yeah, we had a load of them at the Rhinos. You mentioned a few there. You've got Danny Maguire, who's gone into coaching now. But then we also brought some great overseas players like Kylie Luluai. Danny Badira's played here, right?
Yeah,
Brett
legend,
Webb was
legend,
there.
legend.
So we were just fortunate throughout that period that there was a group of maybe 6 to 8 all the time who had genuine leadership qualities, and that creates that coalition of the willing.
Yeah, and on that coalition of the willing, have you ever rolled at a snowman? Have you ever rolled
Made
a
a
snowman?
snowman?
Made
Yeah.
a snowman,
Yeah.
you know, started. Well, the coalition of the willing thing I find interesting. When you start to make a snowman, it's like it's a snowball, isn't it? But there's a point at which, when you've got enough, a critical mass of snow, it starts to get big really quick, doesn't it? And so what my analogy is this. That coalition of the willing is that point at which the snowman gets big enough that it starts to gather a lot of snow, and it can get massive from that point. It can
be
get
like
out of
bread
hand.
as
But
well,
you know what the
couldn't it?
problem
I
is?
thought into this.
Yeah,
I put, no, don't laugh at me.
No,
I've really thought about this. I wrote it down.
Could it be bread
Yeah,
as well, like
yeah.
dough?
Yeah, it's like when... No, it can't be
But
dough. It has to
from-
be snow.
From my experience, you know, I've got 3 children, and rolling snowballs and getting bigger and bigger. I like that analogy. As they get bigger, at some point you pick up some dog.
That's true.
So I think you've got to be careful as it gets bigger and bigger.
Well,
that you
it's
don't
not
pick
the-
up negative
it's
players
not
along the
yellow-
way
It's
as well.
not the yellow
All right.
snow that I'm worried about. It's the big brown chunky bits of snow that I'm really worried about. But yeah, building a good culture is very much like to building a snowman covered in dog. That's what we've got to the bottom of.
So
It's fine.
glad we got
That's
to that
that's a book. Snowman and dog.
I'm so
Snowman and
glad you
dog
said
wing.
that you couldn't do it with
Dog
bread,
wing.
because that would be creepy and
Yeah,
gross, really
what
gross.
a really massive dough ball.
So leadership is
Yeah.
something else I really want to talk to you about, because you were a great leader. You are a great leader.
Yeah.
At what point in your career did you realise that you would make a good captain, a good skipper? Was it given to you? Was it something that you strived towards?
I don't think I certainly strived towards being. I didn't want to. I never had in my ideas that I wanted to be captain of this team. But I think as I got more settled within the Bradford team and more games under your belt, I felt I could be more and more vocal about what I thought about things. I was very respectful when I came through at first, and then I think people see that you say the right thing, but then you follow it up with your actions, and I think they're the key things, that what I'll do and what I say are really aligned with each other, and I think people then buy into that. So then, like Nobby, I thank Nobby a lot. He saw that.
Brian Noble.
Yeah, Brian Noble. When Robbie was injured, I got stepped forward as captain. I think 2004. Robbie Paul was injured. Yeah, he was our captain, and
Jenna's just proud that she got Robbie
Just
Paul.
for people who might not
No, but you were looking for approval of us. Yeah, I got it right. Robbie Paul.
Some people that are listening might, like my mum probably wouldn't know.
No.
Shout out to Tessa, who's one of our biggest fans. Anyway, sorry, JP.
It's all right, yeah. So then, so I got Robbie was injured, was fortunate to be captain, and then 2005 season got promoted to the captain of the team, and I think it's just I led by my actions, but then as you get more into the captaincy role, you realise your words are important, but then how you speak to people and what you do around that's important too as well. I think.
But just on JP as a captain as well is the consistency you had in your behaviour. Like for me, that was standout, as in he was very consistent, emotionally really consistent.
When you say consistent in behaviour,
when we talk about consistency in a sports context, I'm not talking about performance. I'm talking about day to day. The consistency of your emotional level of and your ability to flex that as well. It wasn't always at the same level.
So what people find, right? Loads of research has shown that you perform at your best when you're in a safe environment, right? But a safe environment is dictated by the emotions of the leaders in there. So if you've got a leader who's emotionally pretty stable all the time, then people know what they're getting, they feel safe, you get the best out of people with that. So I feel I am quite emotionally stable and quite good at reading people, but then I can dial into it when I want to do it. And
got blood out the mouth, start chasing young players around the field.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Leadership. It's like he was just running after a young lad round the pitch.
Shame he didn't catch you. What a shame.
How can you imagine? I wish he did sometimes. Sometimes daydreaming about him catching me and filling me in. It makes me feel better about things. Yeah. I remember if JP caught me. Wow. That would have been
Where
a
would
great
my
day.
career
It
come
would have been a
from
great day.
So in terms of like consistency, I just want to go back to this. So would you say that between your highs and your lows, there wasn't a massive gap?
Yeah, there's not a big gap between. That's a great way of putting it. A lot of people, they've got like massive tsunami waves, haven't they, of emotions, and that's all right. But I think people like that are hard to deal with. And then I think people who are flatline, who don't show any emotion, are difficult to connect with. So I think it's about just having a bit of a ripple with your emotions.
I like it. Yeah, no.
And then the key is, though, is under stress is not making sure your emotions get high and low and bigger swings between them. I think that's the key with it, having being able to deal with stress and just absorb that.
Where are you, Jenna, in the ripple or the wave?
I call myself a roller coaster, John Wilkin.
A roller
really,
coaster.
yeah. Roller coaster, the Big Dipper, Australia's Wonderland, the Big Dipper. Still working on that, but I'm quite interested in hearing more, and maybe I need to come to one of your motivational talks.
Just need to flatten that out a bit.
Yeah,
Just
I need to kind of get a little bit better with my highs and lows. Mistakes, though. Mistakes, right? You make mistakes as a leader. I've heard you talk about mistakes that you've made.
Yeah.
How easy or how hard is it to come back from mistakes, especially when so many people are looking up to you and looking towards...
Yeah, it's a good question, right? I think mistakes are part of being successful. I think a big mistake is making the same mistake twice. That's like a major effort, is doing that for me. And I think you've got to be able to be self-aware enough to understand that you made a mistake. So, story at the Bulls was, I think we'd lost about 3 games in a row, and our training session the day before the game, the captain's run was just terrible and quiet, and balls are down everywhere. And because I was a bit younger in my captaincy, I was getting like more and more irate with this. And to the point then, at the end of the training session, you normally have the last word together, don't you? And I just like started ripping into everybody about standards and not being good enough. And as I'm doing that, I can see everyone's body language dropping and everything. And I like stormed off off the pitch, I'd still up the steps into the dressing room. But as I'm walking up, I'm just thinking, I've just got that so wrong. I've majorly got that one wrong with that one. Yeah. I said the wrong thing there. I've gone too angry. We should have been more positive around, look, we're good players, stick together, we'll get through this. Not your crap, that was crap. Get your standards up. So I think you learn and make mistakes all the time in leadership, but you just can't make the same ones twice. And I think having self-awareness will allow you to not make the same mistake twice.
Yeah, and I think as well on that, so I found it interesting. I think there's a lot of people in life can observe the problems and the issues that are at hand. Like, that session is bad. Yeah. You were bad. That was bad. That's commentary on what's happening. Like, I think good leadership is actually thinking beyond that and having such a bigger view on things that you can be relaxed about it. Yeah. You can be patient with it. Yeah. You can be kind. Yeah. You can be compassionate, empathetic with people. That for me, as a business owner, like, is a learned skill for me. Is the patience and empathy to be able to, you know, just let that situation breathe. You know, not commentate relentlessly and be literal about everything. You're bad. That's bad. That's bad. This is bad. That's good. And that's a commentary. Yeah. Right. And I think the skill of leadership is being able to remove yourself from that and being able to take a much bigger view. And because you're at the top of the tree, you have to have a big view. Yeah. So when you're at the top of any organisation, or you're there to lead and inspire people, you must have a broader view than everybody else to some extent. And that allows you to make much more patient and kind. I think kind decisions. That's why you said positivity to me, and I was like, I'm buzzing that you use that word, because for me in business, that's my superpower. And it's not like fake. It's not like nonsense. Yeah. It's not like I go in and I'm like, hey, well done, well done, well done, well done, well done. It's having a positive can-do attitude to everything, to mistakes, to wins, to losses. But have that mentality to everything. And every now and again I don't. Like, I have down days where I'm not like that. But my job when I'm in charge of people is to bring that every day, you know?
So they reckon, right, every culture throughout the world, the one golden rule in every culture is reciprocation. You know, I do something for you, you do something back for me. And it's an unwritten rule everywhere. So that's the theory around, just be positive. So occasionally you will get burnt by somebody. But they reckon it's about 1 in 50 opportunities and chances you'll get burnt by, they'll take advantage of you and burn you. But the other 49 times, why not just be positive and go first and be kind round it? And I think it's a good skill to have in life.
Yeah, love it.
People being kind, this is something as well that I list at the start, I read out, didn't I, your achievements and everything you achieved. How hard was it for you? And we kind of laughed a little bit about Sam going back in playing. It's very hard to retire, and going from those highs of playing and the success that you had and experienced to then going back to like a normal life, you know. How hard was that? And is that why you then went back and you...
I didn't go back. Absolutely not, no. So, right, I reckon that the couple of things that are difficult about retiring is, first of all, when you're playing, everything's shaped around feeling your best on Friday, whereas in the real world, you get to Friday and you're hanging on by your fingertips because you've worked hard all week. That's difficult to deal with at first. And then in rugby league, highs are there, lows are there, and you just bounce around between them. But in the real world, it's all a bit like this, and then occasionally you'll have a big high, but occasionally a big low. It's about trying to replicate that. But then I never wanted to come out of retirement. I only came out of retirement because we had no players left. We were, battling relegation, and I thought the last thing I can do now is come out of retirement and play for the team to try and help them. I was totally and happily retired. It's a really difficult game, this, playing in the front row. It's not fun. And then as you get a bit older, I was in my late 30s, you're just thinking this is a bit stupid being commentation all the time. So I'm really gladly retired. I don't miss it at all. I miss big games for a period of about 5 or 6 years.
But what about the highs? How can you replicate? Have you been able to replicate the highs that you've experienced?
No, you just have to accept that part of your life. Sure, the closest I get to it, I think the thing I miss most about playing rugby league is that shared sense of accomplishment, achieving a goal together, knowing people have sacrificed and you give your most towards it. And the closest I've ever come to that is running a marathon, because you don't know a lot of the people out there, but you've got that common ground that you've trained for 12 weeks, you give you all, and when you all cross that line together, it's that shared sense of accomplishment. So that's the kind of closest thing I've got to doing that, but just acceptance.
Well, I think those highs, like JP said, like, do you miss the highs? Well, the unintended consequence of those highs are lows. So it's like saying, do you miss the lows? Well, you don't miss the lows, but you can't have those highs without the lows. So sports...
Are the highs worth the lows?
No. I don't think.
Yes, they
No,
are.
they are. They absolutely are. But what you're saying is, do you miss the highs? Well, you also then must be thankful that the lows are gone as well. It's not always. And when people retire, they always talk about maybe again the negative side of it, that you miss out on these highs. You haven't got the camaraderie. And I find actually there's a lot of things about your career that are a blessing, I find the week to week, that routine of Friday
Pre-season training in the
and
snow.
all of that repetitive nature of a routine, I find that really difficult because I'm more flighty than that, like I'm more creative than that. And so I think sometimes it's easy to go, you miss the highs, but I also think there's a lot of things, a sports career, when it's gone, you're actually thankful for that it's gone.
Was it 2016, your last?
Yeah, for Hull KR was
For Hull
2016.
KR.
This was the last we saw of him.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh, Gaz, he's kicked. This Gaz O'Brien's not going to kick. Oh, it's gone over. Sorry, lads, we're in the championship.
Well, that's me. Drop the mic. See ya.
But I didn't mention any of that. You brought that up.
Yeah.
Okay. On the bench podcast, on and off the bench. On the bench.
I'm just going to do an apology now before
Another
we start.
one.
No, I just want to apologise to everybody in the world before we do this segment.
Feels insincere, that. John.
It does, doesn't it? It does, but I mean it. I'm sorry. I value
Why don't
everyone.
we leave you off?
No,
on the
I've
bench?
got-
Let's
I've got some crackers
Well,
this
let's go to
week.
JP
Yeah.
first. JP on the bench. Something that you want to see less of in the game.
I want to see less derby games.
Right,
I'm sick
wow,
and tired.
less
yeah,
derby
no,
games.
because I think one of our greatest attributes of rugby league, certainly in the Northern Hemisphere, is the derby and the
Yeah.
tribalism between the derbies.
Yeah.
Which is the biggest derby? Well, this is a good one for you, given
Yeah.
Bradford, Leeds, Hull KR.
Yeah, I think for me the Hull KR FC derby is just crazy when you're in that city. I think it's the only derby that takes over a city. I know Wigan and Saints is huge, Bradford and Leeds was back in the day. I know Wigan and Saints is still massive today, but it takes over the city, and you've got to be in the city to realise what it's like.
So you want less because it's been diluted.
Yeah, it's
been volume.
diluted, and just because it's I don't know, you've got 4 or 5 derbies here. I like watching the derbies, even though I'm not involved in them, like Wigan Saints, Hull FC, Hull KR, because I know it means so much to them. But when you watch it 4 or 5 times, you're like, I can turn it to that whenever. And I just think we just need a bit more scarcity. Creates demand.
Would you
within
say
that.
1 a year?
2 a year. I
Two
do
a
home
year?
and away. That's all we need in it. Because the good sides, you'll meet again in the playoffs. You'll meet again in probably the Challenge Cup. So in the league, I just only want to see 2 derbies a year, an home and an away one.
It's off the bench.
I like it.
It's off the bench.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
I'm assuming the club's owners and chairmen might vote
They
against
won't
it.
agree with
They're
it.
not going to go for it, but we can go for it.
Yeah, we can agree with
It's
it.
going to go nowhere but here.
Yeah.
That's what I do, me.
Well, that wasn't on the bench.
On the
Wasn't it on
bench.
the bench? Less.
Yeah.
Less. On the bench for me is whenever there's a card in a game, right, something I've observed, and it becomes more ridiculous. Now I'm telling you about it, you'll watch it and think that's crazy. Whenever a referee gives a yellow card or a red card, what I want to see on the bench is, why does he point? Why does he point to the tunnel?
Yeah.
So he holds up the card.
My point is,
with
if he
one
didn't
hand.
point to the tunnel, what would happen? Would it be chaos?
Yeah.
Like, would the sent-off player just walk off the down the corner? Would he just walk out the ground? It's the point that he has to
More
point.
The drama, isn't it?
Yeah, but he's just pointing to the tunnel. They know where they're going. So who's it for?
So
And
basically, what you're saying, one hand they hold up the red or the yellow card, and with the other one they point towards
sorry,
the
miss.
tunnel.
Sorry, miss. Explaining the quotes over here. Yeah. So they point down the tunnel whilst holding the card
So
up.
what should they do with the other
Well,
hand?
I just
then
think if they're going to have fun with it, point somewhere else.
Okay.
I wanted to
do you know
point
what?
somewhere else.
Just thinking about what you said there, something I would like putting on the bench is more kind of theatrical referee signals. You know when Steve Ganson was on fire and he's really annoyed with something, how like theatrical his signals. I'd like to bring that back.
Like all that. Have you ever seen that on is it Naked Gun, where he's the baseball? Have you seen it? The guy who catcher in the baseball. Have you not seen
I've seen
it?
Naked Gun.
And he does strike, and then they all go nuts, and then he's moonwalking back. Let's get more theatrical referees, or get the referees to point somewhere else just to see if the players follow it.
Yeah.
If he went like that, and then the player just runs off in that direction, I'd be happy. It's not going to happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
It's not going. Yeah. It's not going to fly.
So, what about your off the bench, JP?
Off the bench.
Something you'd like to see more of in the game?
So I'd like to see more of this is in general life. Coming back to my quote, people doing hard things, right? Because I think there's a bit of a culture around people not doing hard things, and there's so many benefits from it. And I'll lead it back to, I think, Wigan have been the dominant side over the last 24 months and beat Penrith, because I reckon they're the team that focus most on doing the hard things. So I'd like to see more players and more clubs.
In life as well.
In life.
We're talking life
The
and
bench of
rugby.
life and the bench of rugby league.
Yeah.
It's go do
Hard
something hard.
things.
Go do something difficult.
What's a day-to-day example of hard things? Like you've been talking about daily disciplines.
Yeah.
Like doing
Yeah.
something you don't really want to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Running a marathon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Run a marathon.
Doing what
get
Kevin
out for a hike.
Sinfield's been
exactly,
doing.
yeah.
Like, that's hard.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
let's all do it. Let's get loads of people doing it.
Yeah, I like it. Let's do more
I
hard
like
things.
It too. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
What a way to end.
Well,
this
can I
week.
not? I cannot finish.
You
very
want to finish?
quickly.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
absolutely.
because right, why on the bench? Last one is very quick.
Last one
Is-
ever, or just
right,
for
no,
this
the last
episode?
one is we use a term in sport to define like who's the best of all time.
Yeah.
The goat.
Yeah.
The goat. Like, why the goat? The goat does. It's not right. The
Yeah.
goat's a smelly, horrible animal. Like, let's choose a better animal.
What would you choose as your animal?
Well, like I don't know, like maybe a
You
tiger.
do know. You thought you put
tiger.
so much
Hang on
thought
a
into
minute,
this.
hang
I
on
was
a
hoping
minute,
JP
hang on a
would ask
minute.
the
Do you know what?
question.
I've got an interesting fact about
Go.
animals that
Yes.
people love. How many calories a day do you think a humpback whale eats?
What do you mean? What do you?
How many calories a day? I learned this on
Is
the
either,
travels.
is either less than you think or more than you think?
I'm gonna go 2,000.
2,000.
Go on.
No, you got to have a guess.
18,000.
2 million.
2 million.
No, it doesn't.
Yes,
That's
it does. It's
nonsense.
2 million.
What's it eat? So that's
So
where
we
all the
need- that's
fish is
where-
going.
A whale expert told me
But that's
that.
the animal. So it should be the whale.
Yeah.
You should be the whale.
Yeah,
if you're
the
the best,
whale of all time.
Buy the tiger. What about instead of greatest of all time, the tiger?
Tiger,
Totally impressive guy every round.
Okay, I'm
What
sorry that this is where we're going to end.
What about
Oh,
the
it's
wolf?
still going.
The winner of large finals.
Yeah.
You know, fine. Rat, really able talent. No. Or what about the dog?
I wish you'd have come up with
The
an
dog.
elephant.
The dog. Dominates and wins games. Dog. D-A-W-G.
So,
What do you think?
for the second time this episode, I will apologise that this
Well,
is
it
where
should be
we
the whale. It has to be the whale now.
We've gone over now, and I
millions-
apologise for wasting your time.
It's
and
not a waste of time.
The final 2 minutes of this podcast with the greatest, one of
The
the
dog.
greatest of
The
all
dog.
the dogs.
The whale. The
Jamie
blue whale.
Peacock, you are the greatest of all time. Thank you
Yeah, the
so
goat.
much for joining us
goat.
on The Bench. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.